Hi students, this is Ram Mohan, JL in History, Government Junior College, Kachigoda. Today, in our first year history class, 11th chapter, Advent of Europeans. In this topic, already we discussed the early European settlements across India. You know, the first navigator, Vasco da Gama, who discovered the sea route from Europe in this Portugal country. Then he moved around the Africa continent and reached India, the place Calicut. Okay, the year 1498 when he discovered the sea route from Europe to India. This is the year which had great significance in the world history. So Vasco da Gama, who was the responsible for to discover the sea route, and afterwards, of course, many European trade centers were established across the India, not only India, across the Asian continent also. So now moving to establishment of British supremacy over India. So already we discussed the about Portuguese, about the French people, about Dutch and England also. Now, English or England settlements or trade centers were established across India. So this is, we can study here, establishment of British supremacy. Here the responsible person, Robert Clive, okay, he was the man of superior intelligence. When he joined as a clerk in East India Company, later reached the stage of good administrator, then became a soldier. So he was a person, a quick learner. That's what he moved to a great soldier also. And even in the Carnatic War, especially to overthrow the French supremacy or French settlements in India, especially in the second Carnatic War, when French supremacy was established in first Karnataka War. During the second Karnataka War, you see, he was the responsible person to decrease the French power in that wars. So, Robert Clive, not only this Carnatic Wars, even in the Plassey War in 1757, moving to 1764 Buxar War. So, he showed his supremacy, he showed his talent and intelligence in this war. That's what first person in East India Company or British ruling, Robert Clive was the first great administrator or great general in establishing British supremacy over Indian settlements. We are going to study a great event, that is the Black Hole tragedy, the tragic incident which was occurred in Bengal. You see, the Bengal governor or Bengal ruler was Siraj-ud-Dawla, was the son of Ali Wardi Khan. So Siraj-ud-Dawla, while he was ruling, Fort William was built by Britishers, and Britishers strengthened the Fort William. Here they not only strengthened that, they wanted to build equipment also. So later, when it was noticed by Siraj-ud-Dawla, he immediately asked the British people to evacuate or left the Fort William, because it was given as a trade purpose, business purpose. But later, Britishers wanted to strengthen the Fort William. That's what, by noticing this, immediately he captured the 146 Englishmen and kept in a small room. After 24 hours, 123 were suffocated to death. This incident made great alarm to the British people. Immediately, Robert Clive and Admiral Watson, they were sent from Madras to Bengal. They reached Bengal and raided Hooghly also. And after defeating Bengal army, and Nawab Siraj-ud-Dawla was forced to sign a peace treaty. So this incident was called here Black Hole tragedy. This tragedy afterwards led to the Plassey War, led to the British supremacy over India. So that is Black Hole tragedy. Now moving to Battle of Plassey, 1757. To overthrow the Sirajuddaulah rule in Bengal, now Robert Clive made a conspiracy with the commanders of Bengal. Here, Mir Jafar, Mir Qasim Khan, Jagat Seth, and Amit Chand. They were these people, bankers and merchants, joined hands with Robert Clive, and now they planned for a great conspiracy against Sirajuddaulah, and they started the Battle of Plassey because the Plassey is a place name, that is Palashi. Okay, now we are calling Plassey. Anyhow, in that area, 23rd June 1757, the war occurred between the British force and Bengal force. During the war, the commanders Mir Jafar and Mir Qasim both here betrayed the Sirajuddaulah during the war. So immediately, the Bengal Nawab was defeated and killed by Miran, the son of Mir Jafar. So with this deceive or betray, the Nawab was defeated. English, okay, got victory over the Bengal. Sirajuddaulah, okay, was killed and captured and killed by Miran, and Mir Jafar was made as the Bengal Nawab. Now Britishers made here Mir Jafar as the king of the Bengal. Now free trade, the British companies, the East India Company was given here full freedom in Bengal to trade and business. And French influence completely came to an end in Bengal area. And Mir Jafar, while in return, because he gave the power, he gave the free trade to the British East India Company. That's what he returned. He received here Jamindari of 24 Parganas, okay, near Kolkata. Now moving to next battle, that is Battle of Buxar in 1764. So when Mir Jafar was installed as the king of Bengal, the Bengal treasury was completely emptied, and the continuous demands of British people, Mir Jafar realized soon, and now he did not cooperate to the British East India Company because of his not no support from the Bengal Nawab. Immediately, East India Company, the British company, made here Mir Qasim as the Nawab of Bengal. Later, Mir Qasim installed as the king of the Bengal, and he granted now Jamindari rights, okay, Midnapur, Burdwan and Chittagong to the Britishers. And even, not only that, 20 lakhs rupees granted to the Britishers. And later, he changed the capital city, shifted the capital from Murshidabad to Mangir. And when he was very busy in cooperating with the British people, Mir Jafar here made formed an alliance with Shujauddaulah and Shah Alam. Here Mir Qasim formed an alliance with Shujauddaulah and Shah Alam, the Awadh ruler and Mughal ruler. So in this war, again Mir Qasim was defeated because he did not cooperate to the Britishers. First time, Mir Jafar did not cooperate with the Britishers. Later, Mir Qasim also did not cooperate. So he defeated in several battles, and Mir Qasim fled to Awadh area. Later, he formed an alliance with Mir Shujauddaulah and Shah Alam. Here again, Mir Jafar installed as a king of Bengal. So after Sirajuddaulah, Mir Jafar, later Mir Qasim, now Mir Jafar. So with this replacement now, Mir Qasim formed an alliance and started here fighting against the Britishers on 22nd October 1764. This war was named as Battle of Buxar, 1764. 64. This war ended with the treaty, that is the Treaty of Allahabad 1765. In this one, you see the Mughal Emperor and Awadh Emperor already gave full cooperation to the Bengal Nawab, but even though he was severely defeated by the British army. So with this treaty, you see what are the results. First one, Mughal Emperor granted the right to company to collect the Diwani along with judicial powers. That is first one. Moving to second one, free trade rights in Awadh area, because Awadh ruler also defeated by the British army. That's what free trade in Awadh area. Next, Kara and Allahabad. These two places were separated from Awadh and given to Mughal Emperor. And Britishers also gave annual pension of 26 lakh rupees to the by company. And this Battle of Buxar also, before that Battle of Plassey also, revealed the inefficiency and military weakness of not only Bengal, even the Indian native rulers also. Now the Bengal wars are completed. Moving to now Anglo-Mysore War. So Mysore also one of the independent kingdoms of the Indian provinces. It was ruled by Ismail Wadayar ruler. Later, Hyder Ali established independent rule in Mysore. He was a real de facto ruler of Mysore. So when he started the Mysore as an independent kingdom, the neighborhood provinces or neighborhood kingdoms here, Maratha and next Nizam. Here two superpowers. One is Nizam and Peshwas. These two powers controlled here, and these three people to overthrow the others, they made here good contact with Britishers. So when Hyder Ali started the Mysore as an independent kingdom, here you can see. Later, when Hyder Ali, his son Tipu Sultan, conflict with the British army, so half of the Mysore was given to the Britishers. These two maps indicated here how they lost half of the Mysore to the Britishers and how they lost to the Britishers. Not only here, the area, even vast wealth goes to the hands of the Britishers. Now moving to the first Anglo-Mysore War, which was done between the 1766 and 1769. He was the Hyder Ali, the founder of Mysore kingdom, and Nizam, Maratha and English made a great alliance here to overthrow the Hyder Ali rule in Mysore. So, initial stage, Hyder occupied whole Karnataka region, the capital Arcot also. Here, Britishers were defeated by Hyder Ali, and immediately Britishers made a great treaty, that is Treaty of Madras with Hyder Ali. Here, both agreed to hand over the territories, whatever territories they occupied in initial stages, they gave back to them. Next one, Second Mysore War, which was occurred between 1782-84. Here, why Second Mysore War occurred? Because of the violation of the Treaty of Madras by the Britishers. They did not give any value to the Madras Treaty, so that immediately the Second Mysore War also started. During the war, the founder of Mysore, Hyder Ali, died due to the cancer. So Tipu Sultan, the son of Hyder Ali, started or continued the Second Mysore War. This war was came to an end with the Treaty of Mangalore. Here, mutual restoration again in Second Mysore War also. There was a good result between the two parties. Now moving to the Third Mysore War. Here, Tipu Sultan again defeated by Cornwallis. Srirangapatnam was captured. Their treaty of Srirangapatnam also, there here, he lost half of the kingdom and he paid here 3.30 crores as a war indemnity. And not only that, his two sons were taken hostages till the payment. So this is Third Mysore War. Now moving to the fourth and last Mysore War, 1788 to 1789. Here Wellesley was the Governor General of India and he defeated and killed Tipu Sultan. Now, erstwhile Mysore royal family, the Wadayar family was installed here and the Mysore king made subsidiary alliance with the Britishers. So, with this, Anglo-Mysore was completed. Now, moving to the Anglo-Maratha wars. You see already after Mughal uh, decline of Mughal emperor or Mughal kingdom here, Maratha power, okay, grows day by day. This was established by Shivaji, now came into the Peshwas. Peshwas here, uh, they expanded the entire Maratha kingdom up to the North Chambal and they reached here Delhi also. Now, these Anglo-Maratha war. Why these Anglo-Maratha wars were occurred? Because the conflict among the Maratha group, already the Maratha Confederacy, okay, they established by the Peshwas. Now that there was a conflict among the Maratha group. Next one, not only that, come to the British side also, there was a great growing ambition of the English. Means they wanted to expand the East India Company rule. Okay, they not only eastern part, they wanted to expand the British rule the entire west and north area. That's what here they already interfere in the matters of the Bengal, Mysore. Now moving to the Maratha area. Now they took advantage when the conflict were going on among the confederacy of the Maratha powers. Now the war started. The first Maratha war could not decide the victory. Okay, this was ended with the Treaty of Salve. Here, status quo was implemented, and the French power was prohibited here. So there was no good result with this war here. Treaty of Salve and status quo also they maintained. Now moving to the second Maratha war. Here, the responsible person was Wellesley. First, he asked Maratha to join here subsidiary alliance, but initial stages the Marathas did not agree with the Wellesley to join here subsidiary alliance. Not only that, the humiliation of the British officers, okay, with the Marathas also one of the reasons of the second Maratha war, which was occurred 1803 to 1806, 3 years during the war. Okay, again the Britishers showed their supremacy over the Maratha power, and the Treaty of Rajgarh. This war ended. Now English got places the north of the Chambal River. They conquered Delhi, and with this, their power increased here, Delhi, and their prestige also here increased with this second Maratha war. Now moving to the third Maratha war. Here, Lord Hastings, he was the responsible person in third Maratha war, which was occurred between the 1870 to 1880. Here, Maratha wanted to regain their prestige here. They wanted to improve or increase the Maratha stage, but unfortunately, the Maratha confederacy was completely destroyed here. Now, Britishers became undisputed rulers of many parts of India. So, starting from Karnataka War, Mysore War, Maratha War, they waged a number of wars and they established here their strong foothold in India with these all wars. Now, moving to the administrative reform. So East India Company established in 17th century. Okay, the East India Company reached there till 1857. They continued their rule. Okay, and here Surat was the main center, and every the Governor General who installed by the Britisher here, they implemented lot of administrative reforms here. So these reforms only to plunder the economy, to plunder the economy, and it lead to the economic exploitation. And not only that, and regular supply of income, they wanted to implement so many administrative reforms. Apart from that, they maintained here law and order also, and here the British goods were imported without any excise duty. But our cotton, lots of cotton exported and finished goods were sold in high prices. That's what they implemented here administrative reform. Moving to the trade and center, here First half of the 17th century, if you observe, Surat was the main center, and spice and textile trade was increased here. Cotton, silk, indigo, and spices, okay, chief exports of the British company. And here, Indians wanted here gold and silver, okay, initial stages, and industrialization also here because of industrial revolution occurred in England, so that they wanted to expand their trade centers and business centers across the world. That's what their policy here, okay, started industrialization. So with this, inefficient and weak Indian rulers also had paved way the colonial imperialism and heavy tax on Indian goods. Okay, no tax for British goods. This led to the indigenous industries were completely destroyed here, and they only encouraged here commercial crafts. Okay, they did not encourage here the traditional crafts. Only commercial crafts encouraged here. Traditional crafts were completely neglected. Now their mercantilist policy 1757 to 1813, here direct plunder was occurred. They need only monopoly. So eliminating all possible rivals, they wanted here political control. Okay, that's what they wanted, surplus and self-sufficient economy here. The India actually surplus and self-sufficient economy now reached to move to turn it to colonial economy because of their policies. Now moving to the industrial decline, you see. Native industries completely destructed. They created extra pressure on agriculture, exploited all natural resources. They promoted only plantation and industries. Okay, this was caused to great damage to handicrafts and village economy also. Now, finance colonialism. Here, 1862 in 1947, they maintained here finance colonialism, banking, telegraph. These are the services installed here, and to invest, okay, in this area, they increased here investment of British capital. Okay, they given here guaranteed interest also. Here, proper rule also they maintained first time. Okay, all corners, okay, all places, all provinces were made under one umbrella. That's what, to increase the company profits, they maintained here law and order also. uh, First revenue administration started by Warren Hastings. He abolished here dual government, which was established by Robert Clive in Bengal. Later Warren Hastings abolished here dual government, and he uh, appointed a revenue collector to collect the, okay, revenue collection is taken, take care of that. Collectors were appointed here, and first 5 year, 1 year settlement also there, and permanent land resolution revenue system by Karanwali first time implemented in this Jamindari system, Raitwari system, and Mahalwari systems also introduced. Jamindari or permanent land revenue system was implemented by Karanwalis. Actually, it was the plan of John Shore. And here we can notice exact amounts. That's what the plan of expenditure. Okay. Also, they can notice. And even the Jamindars here became more powerful by the Jamindari system. But right, the farmers became more pathetic and gloomy during this. Now moving to the Raitwari settlement was done by Thomas Munro. Okay, he was the chief architect of Raitwari settlements in India. First, they implemented Madras Presidency, Baramal and Salem areas, but not given any success. Later, okay, they started implemented in rest of the, okay, area in 1792, especially in ceded districts. Captain Reed, okay, he implemented the Raitwari system. Okay, 1/3 year the chief tax year, and pattas also given to the farmers, and later it was implemented in Bombay Presidency. And what are the merits, okay, in this Raitwari system? One is growth of individualism, social mobility, and land became a commodity among the farmers. Now, Mahalwari settlement also implemented by the Britishers, especially in Punjab, Awadh, Agra, Gorakhpur, Murdabad, Farrukhabad, Kanpur, and Delhi. 1822 is the year, okay, when they implemented Mahalwari system in these provinces. Here, village proprietary means the village owners, they only, okay, had the power to collect the taxes. Okay, the Mahalwari area. That's what Mahalwari settlement was done. Here, 2/3 was the chief tax. Okay, they were going to collect the from the farmers. So now moving to the justice and law, here Warren Hastings first, implemented, started the, separate courts for the judiciary department. Later, Cornwallis, as per Regulating Act, Warren Hastings started the court in Bengal 1718. One, Diwani Adalat and Fauzdari Adalat at district levels also, emerged here. And civil and criminal courts and municipal courts also established by Cornwallis. And later, he separated the executive department from judiciary or judiciary from executive. Both were separated. And criminal jurisdiction was happened and the control of Nawab, and rule of law and independent judiciary was established by Cornwallis. This is called Cornwallis Code. And during the police reforms, you see, first implemented by Warren Hastings, later Cornwallis established here, and he followed strict rules among the police department and English magistrates also, and Daroga like police officers, Thanas also constructed by here Britishers, and Fauzdars and Thanedars also we can notice. And moving to the civil services, the servants here were employed to take care of the trade. That's what civil servants were appointed by the Britishers. Warren Hastings and Cornwallis took care of to control the corruption, but it was not given any successful result. Cornwallis brought civil services in India first time, and rules and regulations were followed very strictly by Cornwallis. To stop the private trade, it took a number of measures also, and later Wellesley College of Education, a training center also established in Fort William area, and College of England for 2 years training. First he started the college in England, given training for the civil servants for 2 years in England. Later they deployed in India. So in 1858, when Sipahi Mutiny was occurred, and after the war, the power was transferred from East India Company to British Crown. Here, competitive exams were conducted in England. Then only the civil servants are employed here in India. And here we can notice here racial attitude of the British people. So it was at least came to an because of this transferment, the power from East India Company to British Crown. Now moving to the army, the beginning of British Army was started in 1748 year, and here Indian recruits and European recruits and Royal regiments also there. Madras, Bombay and Calcutta, 3 important places for their army recruitment and army settlements were there. Later, Bengal became the headquarters of the central government, and local regiments also we can notice here Awadh and Punjab, and Dalhousie increased here English officers. The highest rank for Indian was Subedar only, no promotion for Indian resident or Indian soldiers, only promotion for Britishers only. Education, 1813 Charter, first time implemented by, this Lord Macaulay. Later William Bentinck in 1835, English language were official language. Up to 1835 was, Persian language was official language. First time English made as official language, with William Bentinck in 1835. In 1854, Dalhousie tenure, the education system modified on the recommendations of the Charles Wood. This is called Wood's Dispatch also. Here vernacular languages were promoted and women education was given lot of priority. And universities also established here, Bombay, Madras and Kolkata, the model of England. So with these effects, Indian economy completely came down very badly. They destroyed cottage and handicraft industries here. So Indians became, poor people, extreme poverty we can notice with the reforms of the Britishers, and economic exploitation prevailed in all corners of the society, and only they wanted to extend their territory, their business centers. They did not concentrate on law and order. They did not concentrate, the indigenous industries. They did not promote here our agriculture, our industry sector. This is the reforms of the Britishers and the wars of Britishers with native rulers. With this, the 11th chapter was completed. Thank you.